Welcome to yet another episode of A Story for Your Query. This is a question from the listeners. Which is better to have, wisdom or knowledge? Can you have one without the other? And if so, which comes first? Wisdom and knowledge have quite a bit in common. Both words are primarily used as nouns that are related to learning. They are listed as synonyms for one another in thesaurus.com, and in some cases they may be used interchangeably. But there are some important differences between the two. What does knowledge mean? The word knowledge is defined as the acquaintance with facts, truths, or principles as from study or investigation, a general erudition. Knowledge is typically acquired through observation, books, research, and delving into facts. What does wisdom mean? Wisdom is defined as the state of being wise, which means having the power of discernment, and judging wisdom is typically gained from experiences and acquired over time. A quote by an unknown author sums up the differences well. Knowledge is knowing what to say, and wisdom is knowing when to say it. For example, you may be very knowledgeable about how to raise a baby after reading countless books, attending classes, talking to wise friends and family members. When that precious person does arrive, however, most new parents would kill for an ounce of wisdom to help soothe the screaming baby. To put it in another way, knowledge is knowing that tomato is a fruit. Wisdom is knowing not to put it in the fruit salad. So, which comes first, knowledge or wisdom? Knowledge always comes first. Wisdom is built upon knowledge. This means that you can be both wise and knowledgeable, but you can't be wise without being knowledgeable. And just because you are knowledgeable doesn't mean that you are wise. Albert Einstein once said, "Wisdom is not a product of schooling, but of lifelong attempt to acquire it." To sum up, the main differences between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge is the information you have learnt, while wisdom is the ability to use that knowledge in a profound way. So knowledge is a part and wisdom is the whole. Wisdom goes beyond learning facts and includes making sense of those facts. Let's take an example and understand the difference between information and knowledge. Information is data organized with a purpose. Knowledge is information and judgment. Wisdom dawns only with knowledge. To explain a little more, if Air India flight is 497 is data, information would be Air India flight 497 leaves Mumbai at 1640 hours, whereas knowledge could be that this flight is not always on schedule. Information can be managed quite effectively. For example, libraries manage information. Knowledge management is a systematic process of acquiring, creating, capturing, synthesizing, learning, using information, insights, and experiences to enable performance. While dealing with students, it is an uphill task. Intelligence is needed for wisdom to dawn. Essentially, intelligence involves remembering all the knowledge that you've gained and using it for simple problem solving. Wisdom is related to complex reasoning and problem solving. Which is better, knowledge or wisdom? You could argue that wisdom is better because it includes both concepts. I have no answer to this question, but I have a story for you. Let's look at Birbal's name and what it stands for. B in the name Birbal stands for brilliant in terms of handling the situation. I stands for innovative, out of the box thinking. R for realistic, which provides practical and workable solution. Another B stands for brave, without fear. A for assertive, self-assured and confident. L for logical, which is accepted by one and all. On a cold winter day, Akbar and Birbal took a walk along a lake. Akbar challenged Birbal into finding a person who could stand in the cold lake all night for money and said that he would reward the person with 1,000 gold coins. Birbal searched far and wide and finally found a poor man who was desperate enough to accept the challenge. The poor man entered the lake, and Akbar had guards posted near him to make sure that he really did as promised. The next morning, the guards took the poor man to Akbar. Akbar asked him if he had indeed spent the night in the lake. The poor man replied that he had. Akbar then asked him how he had managed to spend the night in the lake. The man replied that there was a street lamp nearby and he kept his attention fixed on the lamp and thoughts away from the cold. Akbar then said there would be no reward as the poor man had survived the night in the lake by the warmth of the street lamp. The man went to Birbal crying for help. Next day, Birbal did not go to court. The king was wondering where he was and sent a messenger to his home. The messenger came back to the court saying that Birbal would come as soon as the khichdi that he is cooking was cooked. Khichdi is a recipe based on rice and pulses, dal, as it is called. The king waited for hours, but Birbal did not come. Finally, the king decided to go to Birbal's house to see what he was up to. He found Birbal sitting on the floor near some burning twigs and a bowl filled with khichdi hanging 5 feet above the fire. The king and the attendants couldn't help but laugh. Akbar then asked Birbal, "How can you cook khichdi if it is so far away from the fire?" And Birbal answered, "The same way the poor man received the heat from the street lamp that was more than a furlong away." The king understood his mistake and gave the poor man his reward. The information was available with all, yet it was Birbal's wit, intelligence, presence of mind, and practical way of solving a problem that came to the fore. All this was possible only through wisdom. How do we develop a sense of wisdom? Enrich yourself with a lot of knowledge. The best way to do this is to read. Be a voracious reader. Seek novelty and learn new things. This will stretch the mental muscles and enable you to create better decisions every day. Find wise mentors. Challenge the way you think. Brain games like Sudoku, puzzles should provide adequate problem solving skills to provide the wisdom. Learn from your mistakes. Nobody is perfect. The goal is to do the right thing. Realize everyone is fallible. Don't hold people to such high standards that their mistakes shock and repel you. Be humble in new situations. Accepting your limitations is a high form of wisdom. Know what you have to work with and use your talents to the fullest. Think before acting. Don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. Act on your values. If the student is getting bullied and you want to stand up for that person, do it. Don't hesitate. Remember, right cannot be wrong even if nobody is doing it. And same way, wrong cannot be right even if everybody is doing it. Share your wisdom with the others. Don't let your personal desires cloud your advice. Any questions that you have could be addressed to yourquerymystory@gmail.com. I shall try to answer it as quickly as I can. If the query is good, I might pick it up to feature in the podcast. Anchor and Spotify permit voice messages. Perhaps you would want to check out that option. That's all for today. I will see you next Wednesday.